This episode was brought to you by Google Cloud, a partner that needs no introduction. What you might not have heard of, though, is that Google offers a Google for Startups cloud program where they give you access to startup experts, technical training, business support, and cover your Google Cloud costs up to $200,000 for 2 years, or even $350,000 if you're an AI startup. Scale your startup faster and smarter with Google Cloud. Head over to goo.gle/Swisspreneur.
Unfortunately, 70% of the chronic wound patients do not heal throughout their life. That means that they will have open wounds throughout their life, and the healthcare system have to provide solution. 30% of the chronic wound patient of diabetic population do get amputation because the chronic wound reaches quite deep and they cannot be treated anymore.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Sylvan.
Priyanka, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest today.
Thank you. Great to be with you and great to talk to your community as well.
You're the co-founder and CEO at Healiva, a biotech startup using advanced cell therapy to treat acute and chronic wounds. Before we talk about what you do with your company, I want to go back in time a bit and actually start with your personal background. You're originally from India, but you did your PhD at Trinity College in Dublin and have since worked in Austria, Belgium, and, of course, also in Switzerland. So I wonder, how has this international career shaped you as a person?
Very good question. So just let me reflect back on my background. So I came to Ireland for my doctoral degree. So I did my PhD from Trinity College Dublin. And I had a privilege to work together during my PhD with Novartis. So my project was in collaboration. So I've spent my time in Ireland and in Basel in Switzerland. And that kind of inspired me to move to pharmaceutical industry. And I started to work with Novartis and followed by UCB Belgium. I mainly worked that time into research in mainly high throughput screening, working on neurodegeneration, Parkinson, Alzheimer's, epilepsy with UCB as well. And that was my introduction to, I would say, stem cell world, because I was hired in UCB to set up the cell therapy unit platform for them. And my first introduction in, I would say, the stem cell world came from there, more the drug discovery, clinical world. And from pharmaceutical world, I actually moved into a business world. So I kind of moved into biotech, came to Austria because I was married to Austrian, but I continued to work with, I would say, more international biotech companies. I actually joined a Cambridge company in UK, working from Austria. I was independent in Austria for almost now more than 10 years. So kind of helping them on business development, commercial side, but also helping other startups around in Austria and in DACH region. So that's kind of a nutshell for moving from science world to the business world. And I also did my MBA from the VU Executive Academia and Carlson Business School, Minnesota in US. And that kind of broadened my network to all the startups and all the, you can say, the business world as well.
Wonderful. So it all fits very nicely together. One thing that we often hear on the podcast is that people say you should cultivate an immigrant mindset to also be a successful entrepreneur. You have lived that through and through with all the different countries that you went to. You basically were an immigrant there. So how similar is being an immigrant to being an entrepreneur?
I learned this, or you can say I got my first lesson when I was in Ireland, and APJ Abdul Kalam was there as a guest lecturer. He's one of the very well-known thought leader in India, and he said during one of his lecture that when you are abroad, you should feel like home, and I think that was my take on this whole journey of my entrepreneurship, or you can say immigrant from India, because I always made wherever I lived as my home country. So it's Ireland or Belgium or Austria now. And that really helped me to integrate in the country. And I would say I made friends wherever I went. So just to going back to India, I actually left home when I was 18. So to be honest, and even in India, I was living from all over India. So I went from north to south for my undergrad, and then again back to north for my master degree before I left India. So pretty much I was always making home, even in India is quite big. So if you go from north to south, it's like going from Germany to France. So I always made friends. I always felt like home when I was also abroad, and that really changed the mindset and changed also for me. It made me very comfortable working with everyone around me.
Well, that's certainly a big strength to have. And I wonder, where does your entrepreneurial drive ultimately come from? Did you have any role models in your family that inspired you to go down the entrepreneurial path?
So the business part, I would not say that we are comes from my family, but entrepreneurial definitely comes from my great grandfather. Actually, he was a freedom fighter and he was a philosopher in India, Michael Madhushan Dotto, and he's very well known for his writing and also the, of course, the inspiration throughout the generation. So that's probably came from my family side. My grandfather was a doctor, so that's inspired me to come to science very early on. And then I would say one of the inspiring person in my life is my teacher, biology teacher, who always pushed me to go into science again and kept me inspired throughout my life. And as I mentioned, one of the leading thought leader, APJ Abdul Kalam, he's been inspiring person because I met him in person as well in Trinity. So there are multiple people in my life who have inspired me, but definitely my journey for the entrepreneurship come from my great grandfather as well.
So it runs in your DNA for sure. You did start your company in 2020 with 3 co-founders in total. You basically worked together with the CEO and chairman that you were working for at that time at the company called Bioexotica. And I wonder, how do you convince your bosses to basically help you quit your job and start a company yourself?
Yeah, it's a nice story to really little bit connect how that all started for Healiva. So I was so 9 years ago I joined this family-owned biosodica business in Switzerland. It's a Lugano-based company, and I was heading their sales and commercial team. So I had their team for 6 years, and I'm a scientist in background, but I moved into business world. So for me, connecting for first with their customers or as a leading their commercial team globally helped me to get the trust from the chairman and the co-founder of Biosodica. And I closely worked with the CEO and the chairman. And then I proposed the business model of Healiva because the whole story started with the enzyme. So Biosodica is a B2B enzyme company, family owned, third generation. And we actually invented an enzyme, and I was involved in the invention. And this is the non-mammalian enzyme. And I put forward a proposal to take it forward to wound care. That was the stepping stone of Healiva. And because of my background in cell therapy, I convinced them that we should extend it to the bigger portfolio and having cell therapies. And that's how we kind of started with Healiva and kind of founded Healiva together. So they were also the first investor, you can say. They invested money to found the company, to build the portfolio where we are today. But the enzyme is also the stepping stone to start the whole story of Healiva.
Wonderful. You make it sound like a no-brainer, but at the same time, I wonder, why didn't they try to keep you inside the company instead of generating a spin-off, so to speak?
Yeah, good question as well, because just to mention, Biosodica, of course, they're quite different company in general. This is not exactly their field, the wound care, and that's the reason why we thought of creating a new company. First of all, I wanted to be a shareholder, so equally with them to found the company, and same time, of course, they wanted me to keep into the commercial team, but it was not possible. It was important to have independent companies so that first of all we can bring other partners and investors, but same time also that they can differentiate themselves from their core business, from enzyme business to the to current business model of Healiva. I would say more going into the wound care, and that's the reason why we thought of creating a new company and them coming as a shareholder.
That makes a ton of sense. It was completely different to focus. So let's talk about the chronic wounds. 156 million patients worldwide are estimated to suffer from them. What sorts of conditions or circumstances lead to chronic wounds?
Very good question. So, of course, we have patients coming from diabetic foot ulcers. Example, of course, 25% of diabetic patients do get chronic ulcers, and we have venous leg ulcers, which is comes through more metabolic disorders, and we also have a significant number, about every second person of from venous leg ulcer do get chronic wounds as well, and that's just a two condition. Of course, we do have acute wounds, we do have a rare condition like epidermolysis, who also get, the kids also get, whole body actually have chronic ulcers in the end. And then we have other condition who leads to metabolic conditions who also can lead to chronic wounds. And unfortunately, 70% of the chronic wound patients do not heal throughout their life. That means that they will have open wounds throughout their life, and the healthcare system have to provide solution for throughout their life they are alive. But same time, the caretaker have to make sure that the wound do not get chronic stage. Diabetic patient, there are percentage of about 30% of the chronic wound patient of diabetic population do get amputation, because the chronic wound reaches quite deep and they cannot be treated anymore. So that's the reason why we are trying to find a permanent solution, but same time trying to fit a solution, personalized solution, based on the severity of wound the patient have.
And how were they treated before you came into existence? What was done to treat these chronic wounds?
So there are multiple, you can say, the pattern or the steps for the chronic wound solutions or chronic wound treatment. So we start with simple cleaning of the wound, which is very important. So making sure there is no dead tissue, no infection. And that's where our enzyme comes in play as well, because this is where we want to use our enzyme, which is non-mammalian, to clean the wounds in few seconds without using maggots. Example, classically you will use maggots, spatulas, which is more painful for patient. And then you have different bandages which has been given, different matrices like collagen based and others. Then you have also scaffolds which has been given. You have example, skin from fish, skin from porcine animal derived skins which has been given. And then you also have multiple different allogenic cell therapies which is also available in the market, again, based on the severity, based on how chronic stage, you give different treatment. If it's extremely chronic, we call this as a surgical procedure called mash graft. So what you do is you take a patch of a skin from your own body and you stitch it. So this is kind of used for classically, even in Switzerland, for extremely chronic patient. But unfortunately, the patient we are treating, they are immunocompromised. So meaning that you are creating another wound for those patients. And of course, they do not heal with that wound as well. And that's the last stage for the patient to give the mash graft in Switzerland and other countries, but it's quite painful for them.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I wonder, for someone who does not have the scientific background that you have, you mentioned the enzyme multiple times. How exactly does your solution work? And why is it also significantly better than what was out there before?
Yep. So in very simple terms, we are doing is we're taking a waste of fish industry. So we take the pancreas of fish from codfish, and we have a process to extract enzyme. So classically, we have some other enzymes from fruits, example like bovine based or the porcine based enzyme, pancreatic enzyme. But what we are doing is we are taking a non virus based enzyme from fish, and in our enzyme, in our cocktail, we have three enzymes instead of one. And because it's coming from fish industry, it's quite stable in room temperature. The issue with the majority of enzymes currently in the market is it's quite unstable. So you cannot make it in a liquid format. So you have to always keep it in a powder form, and then you have to mix it on a of course in the hospital setting to give it to the patient. Because we have a cocktail of three enzymes, it's very easy first of all to make and use it, and it works in a few seconds. And secondly, you can make it in a liquid form, so you can send it in a form of like a spray to the market or to the hospital. And we would like to of course have it over the counter, but we have to see of course with the how it's been seen and if we can get it as approved as a medical device. So we are still a preclinical stage at this product. We already have the process, we already have the formulation ready, and now we need to run the preclinical studies to go into the approval for this as a medical device.
Very exciting times ahead of you for sure. At the same time, another key aspect that you focus on is to make this therapy affordable, which has not always been the case for existing solutions. So, how do you make that possible?
Absolutely. So our mission is to get personalized therapies, but also same time affordable. And we start by thinking a little bit broader, thinking what is the pain point of patients, pain point of healthcare. And that's the reason why we do not focus on just one therapy, but we are actually focusing on multiple therapies. The reason is we need multiple solution at different stages of wound care. So you can reduce the first of all the healthcare cost by giving the treatment or the patient multiple treatment in different time points. So like example, we use enzyme, which is a waste of from the fish industry. So it's quite cost effective in compared to other therapies. So this is the starting point of cleaning of the wounds. And then we combine it with cell therapy. So again, our allogenic cell therapy, we are using automation to expand and of course to also create the cells, which is again very cost effective in compared to other available therapies in the market. And then if the patient do not heal, even with our other therapies, our own therapies or available therapy in the market, we create the skin substitute, which is the last you can say the close to market product, Epidex. And there again we are trying to scale it up, even though it's quite a manual process. We kind of scale it up in a sense that we can manage to manufacture multiple patients together in a day, so that it can be also cost effective. But same time, even with autologous cell therapy Epidex skin substitute, we are still very cost effective if you compare with a surgical procedure. And we also save time in terms of the healing process of the patient, that they heal permanently with one therapy. Same time, we reduce the healthcare cost, that they do not have to come back to the hospital, they do not have relapses, it's invasive. So in that term, we are also cost effective, even if it's autologous cell therapy.
That sounds like a logical win-win. And from a business perspective, I just wonder, you have the different products or solutions that you just mentioned. Isn't that also quite a challenge to manage like 4 different solutions or products at the same time, with the manufacturing, the messaging, even the application? Isn't that a bit of a lack of focus?
Yeah, it's also a very good point. Of course, the portfolio always has been seen that's quite a lot to manage. In our case, the good part is that not every product is in same stage. So they're quite different in stages. So meaning that we are currently focusing to get our autologous cell therapy product out in the market. So it's quite late stage. And our mission is not to get everything ourselves out. So we are working with partners, strategic partners especially, to work and bring it to the market. So we are good in the innovation, bringing the product to the clinical stage. But same time, our allogenic is in still a clinical stage. So we need to still prepare for phase 3. So again, it's a different stage than our autologous Epidex. And then our enzyme is an early stage, preclinical stage. So again, they are quite different stages. So we are not competing in the same time, get to the market with all the products. And also the investment point of view, they're quite different timed. So meaning that we have kind of arranged it in a way that we can get to the market with one product, start generating revenues so that we can use it for other products. And we definitely would like to work with the partners to get to the market. So we will not go to market ourselves. So we are already working and trying to bring strategic partners on board so that we can really leverage their network and their commercial unit to go to market, and also, of course, not really heavily investing in the marketing as well.
Okay, got it. So it's not so much a distraction, but actually more of a well-filled pipeline in that sense.
Absolutely. So what we would like to achieve is having different portfolios so that we can kind of become, for the wound care patients, they can leverage our whole portfolio for based on what patient they are, what stage they are in. But same time, for our investor shareholders, it's important to see also that we can kind of take over the bigger share of the market.
That makes a lot of sense. You also mentioned partners to then eventually set up the sales. If all the trials go well, who will be the end customers? Will you mainly sell to hospitals through your partners and resellers, for example, or how do you plan the go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, very good question as well. So, of course, our plan is to work together with hospital and clinic as an end user, but via our partners, via the distributors. But of course, they will be the main, I would say, our customers whom we will be selling. We will not restrict ourselves with the private or public. We will expand it to both in the end. Of course, it depends on which country you're talking. It could be quite different, because in Switzerland, example, we will be working together with insurance companies because we would like our therapies to be fully reimbursed. But same time, in DACH region, it's quite different. So we may have to work with public insurance to private insurance based on which country we are working with. But again, in Asia, example, it could be out of pocket. UAE market, it could be healthcare providers again, hospitals again. So it's quite different for different countries. But for Switzerland, of course, we will be working with clinics, hospitals, and insurance companies as well.
And due to these local differences that you just mentioned, it probably is a really smart idea to actually work with partners who already have all of that figured out for the respective markets.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why we would like to have strategic partners, because it is a lot to do for a startup. And we do not have neither the resources or the funds to do that. Of course, in Switzerland, it's a small market. We can start with some of the partners we know very well. But same time, for DACH region even, we would need partners who have well known in the market, but also know about all these different stakeholders. And because, of course, we are talking about different pricing in the market, different about reimbursement, that's a lot to do. And also, of course, connecting with the right hospital, clinics. So, of course, it would be great for us also. It would be important to have partners to collaborate.
That makes a ton of sense. In the biotech space, it's very natural that you also face the long development cycles, right? You mentioned the different trials, the different stages of trials. And I just wonder, for you as a founder, you know that when you sign up for this journey, it's going to be a long journey. But that doesn't necessarily make it easier along the actual journey itself. So how do you keep going when you know there's still so much more work to do and so many more things to get approval for before you actually make any significant revenue?
Absolutely, and that's probably the reason why our portfolio looks like with four products. The reason is we actually acquired two of the cell therapies from Smith and Nephew, and we acquired the asset or the cell therapy in a very late stage, meaning that we could get to the market quite fast. And the reason because of course I know, and I'm coming from the pharma, you can say the field of the healthcare field, which I know that the originally if you start from scratch, it takes about 8 to 10 years before you can really make any revenue. In our case, we can start to make revenue within 4 years. Reason because we acquired and we can get to the market very fast. But same time, we still, of course, need a right partner. We need, of course, still need to manufacture this. So there are still, of course, barriers. But same time, we are trying to accelerate this process. To keep it going, I would say it's very important that we are focused to find a partner, of course, reach certain milestones so that the investor comes in. Also, the strategic partner are interested. So it's important to kind of reach significant milestones so that you have a relevant partner on board so that we can be in the market. And it's also important to start getting short-term revenues, meaning that for our enzymes example, that can we sell it in the R&D market. Same for our cell therapies, can we sell it for R&D as R&D models, so that we can get some revenues into the company, not significant, but some revenues. But same time, of course, we need to keep going with the pipeline to make sure that we can reach the clinical outcomes, what we expect, and then we can get to the market at least with some other products as well.
So it is a real act of balance in that sense, and you actually accelerated it compared to traditional biotech startups. To keep going, to make these acquisitions that you mentioned, you obviously also need some funds, right? So how and where did you find your investors to really embark not on the typical 10-year journey, but on a 4 to 6 year journey in that sense?
No, also a good question. Of course, in my case or our case, I think it helped because I had the family-owned company with me. So of course they invested, which is quite a significant amount they've invested in, and that helped us to set up the whole portfolio. And also because of their network, we also quite well know, or you can say we know quite well the network strategic partners as well. That helps a lot. So again, the initial investment coming from them helped a lot. So we did not have to go directly to the VCs, directly to the investors, but of course they helped us to keep going, and they also backed me up when we needed investment in terms of the creation of the portfolio, which I think is quite critical for early startups, because we wouldn't have done the acquisition if we didn't have the support of the co-founder and the family-owned business.
And now I also wonder, you're on a very important mission to solve chronic wounds. And at the same time, of course, you also have some milestones that you're hitting over the next few months and years. What are the most important milestones that you want to cross off your to-do list over the next months?
So yeah, we have quite a few so we definitely would like to get our first autologous cell therapy product in the market. So of course we need to, we actually finished the manufacturing part of it in collaboration with the SCHUV CPC unit in Lausanne. But now we really need to submit the dossier to get it approved in Switzerland, and then get the approval as well for the reimbursement. And we also in parallel, once we get a early access or can kind of approval from the from Swissmedic, we can start early access program for EU. That would be our next goal. So that's a main focus. It has been going on to make sure that we can launch this product. Same time, we also in discussions with other countries to launch this product, or in collaboration to extend launch of this product. And that's why also I'm focusing on kind of finding the right partner to expand this product, or bringing this product to other market. So kind of my two focus has been expansion once we have a Swiss approval, and launching in the market.
Hey Swisspreneurs, we've just released our 4th free masterclass on go-to-market strategy, with Ankita, Mehta, and Sumya Dash. Ankita is a serial entrepreneur currently building Lexity.ai, an AI legal tech startup, and Sumya is a co-founder at Sleepiz, a startup providing a medtech device that offers sleep insights and a real Swiss scale-up case. They're both seasoned entrepreneurs who've learned their trade through trial and error and lived to tell the tale. Check out this free masterclass to learn how to define your ideal customer profile, how to price your product, and how to get your first customers. Check out the link in the show notes to view our free masterclass. Thank you and have a great day. Wonderful. One thing we often see with biotech startups is that once they get closer to market launch, they get the clinical trials, they go well, and then you get approval to actually launch in the market. They often get bought before doing any sale on their own by a bigger company that sees the potential. Is that also something that is on your bucket list?
So yes, of course, we always look for partners, kind of potentially expand, and same time, of course, could be an exit partner for us as well. So definitely, this is always for the biotech world. You never know. You need resources, you need funds to scale up, really go bigger. So for sure, for us as well, we are kind of working closely with partners, and that could be exit partner as well.
You never know what is around the corner when you start the conversation, I assume.
And of course it takes time as well. So of course you start to have a conversation with the partners, strategic partners. It could be of course partners in different countries, and you never know what it when it goes through. And sometimes you start a conversation and you land up having them as an exit partner in 4 years or 5 years. So it's important that they see the progress, they see that you're reaching different milestone, what you promised. And of course in a startup you always have delays, so you always have to communicate that as well, why it happened, why you could not reach certain milestone. So it's always good to have the conversation with them, and of course keep the channels open.
I like that. So to wrap up the conversation today, I also want to ask you two last questions, or two last sections of questions. The first one is, do you have any resources or gadgets that you can recommend to other entrepreneurs?
You mean a podcast, or you mean like just
Could be books, podcasts, gadgets that you use yourself, whatever makes your life better, basically.
So for me as an entrepreneur, to be honest, I like a lot of entrepreneurship programs. So meaning that different lectures, different incubator programs, accelerator programs, which really helped me, not only just to learn about entrepreneurship, learn about, in the end, about the kind of the framework, but I really like to connect with entrepreneurs, founders. So that's, I would say, there are many actually in Switzerland, also in Austria as well. I was part of a couple of them, like Venture Lab example or Mass Challenge example, and they also connect you with many very good entrepreneurs, because you need to share your problems as well, your journey with other entrepreneurs. Same time, I do teach, so I'm been, you can say, giving back to Trinity. So I teach entrepreneurship in Trinity. So that's really helped me as well to kind of refine what I've been doing over the years. Same time, I also meet very talented entrepreneurs who want to embark in this journey. So I think it's also important to kind of share your journey with outside world, so you can connect to university, kind of, you can say, entrepreneurship centers, and give back something. It could be local one, like I did for the Trinity. I'm also connected because I'm a co-founder of a VU Female Leaders Network. So we also do the similar. I give back to VU. I'm also mentor at the VU for mentor for you. There also I give back. I connect with entrepreneurs. I connect with the corporate people who want to go into embark into entrepreneurship journey. I'm also mentor at XBio in Austria. Again, it's one of the entrepreneurship accelerator program. So of course, I like to be more on, you can say, in hands, in practical world. So connect more with incubator accelerator programs, give back something, and also connect while same time with the other entrepreneurs.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the last part for you today is some rapid fire questions. I give you either different options to choose from or a short question, and you have to answer in one sentence. You ready?
Okay, yes.
India, Austria, or Switzerland?
Difficult one. Switzerland as a first priority, then Austria, and then India.
What do you like best about Switzerland then?
I would say people and the international mindset.
Cool. And what do you like best about being an entrepreneur?
Freedom and able to do what I like the best, or I do the best as well.
Nice. And how often do you doubt past decisions that you've made?
All the time. So I always think of my failures, of course, as a stepping stone, and also, of course, learning from others.
And are you more of a night owl or an early bird?
Early bird.
When do you usually get up?
Usually, I used to get up actually 5:30, 6 o'clock, but now it's a little later, so 7 around.
That's still early in some areas. Switzerland is also more of an early bird, I guess. Priyanka, thank you so much for coming on the show. Good luck, all the best of success, and I'm sure we're going to hear and see much more of you in the future. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for your time as well, and thank you for having me on the show as well.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.